help a lot with the book of Acts. And as Acts presents James's ruling, this is a minimalist demand here. I judge we should not trouble those who are turning to God, except to keep themselves from the pollution of the idols, keep away from, which in Hebrew is based on the root, to be a Nazarite, to keep away from. The hinazer, to stay away from, is to keep away, to abstain, is based like what a Nazarite would do. From the pollutions of the idols, from fornication, from strangled things, and from blood. I think the only one of those things that Paul ever observes is the fornication one. All the other ones he breaks. Even that, which is a minimalist. You're looking at me oddly and say, "Oh, come on, what are you talking about?" You read his letters and you'll see he breaks every single one of them. And that's the kindest, gentlest, most minimal thing that they're requiring. He laughs at things sacrificed to idols. He heaps abuse on it endlessly. He is so cruel. He says people who do this are weak. But you don't want to encourage their weakness. So when you're around them, do it with them. But, we don't need to do this really. And he says they have weak consciences. I'll read that. I've read it a few times. I'll read it again. I hate to be cruel about it. But as far as strangled things, which is carrion, he says eat everything in the butcher shop. It's all clean. He says that in Corinthians over and over again. And blood, well, he starts the Holy Communion based on the blood of Christ in the letter to the Corinthians without any hesitation whatsoever. So you say, oh, well, blood, that's just regular blood. Well, regular blood? You think people like James would allow symbolic blood to be consumed in like a Greek mystery cult? That's what Greek mystery religions did. They consumed the blood of the living and dying God. That was totally forbidden in the Palestinian framework. When he says stay away from the scrolls, the same Damascus document of a horror of blood, that the children were cut off in the wilderness because they consumed blood. And at two places it condemns the consumption of blood, plus it condemns sleeping with women during the blood of their period, third area of staying away from blood. I don't know if it's right or wrong, I'm just trying to say the cultural differences here. So I'm one of the few that says, oh, this looks, people just read this and take it on face value. But in fact, you have to think, is communion with the blood of light Christ included in this? And did James therefore observe communion with the blood of Christ, even in this very minimalist approach? I think not. I don't think James and the people observed that ritual. And I think the first announcement is in Corinthians. And Paul announces that in Corinthians at the very time he's heaping abuse on these strictures. Let me show you. Look over at chapter 1:8 of Corinthians. I may have read some of this, but I'll read it some more to you now, just so you get it. Now, as to things sacrificed to idols. By the way, first he says the pollutions of the idols. Then he says, I'm going to send a letter down with Silas and Judas Barsabbas. So in line 29 of chapter 15, the letter says, to abstain from things sacrificed to idols, from blood, from what is strangled, which is carrion, and from fornication, because carrion beasts used to take things by the neck and choke them when they attacked them. And in the Pseudo-Clementines makes it clear that this is carrion. Islam makes it clear too. And from fornication. So those are the things. And this is repeated in the last confrontation in Acts 21, where it says here in, look, I want you, 24, 25, Acts 21, to go into the temple, to be purified, to pay the expenses of 4 people under oath, shave their heads like people do when they go to Mecca, like Paul does on several occasions in Acts. After a temporary Nazarite oath, you shave your head. But as to the Gentiles who believe we wrote judging, again the judging thing, they should observe no such thing, only to keep themselves from things sacrificed to idols, blood, strangled things, and fornication. So things sacrificed to idols is what we're talking about here. So let's go over to chapter 8, 1 Corinthians. Now listen to this, because this drips with sarcasm and contempt. And you say, come on, you couldn't be. Yes, it does. Now as to things sacrificed to idols, we know that we all have knowledge. And now he's going to play his rhetorical word game around the word knowledge. He loves back and forth over knowledge and knowing and so on. It's obviously it was part of Greek rhetorical argument techniques. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. So these people who have knowledge, clearly the leadership who are requiring these things, they're supposed to have knowledge. And now he, in a very subtle way, attacks them. He says, knowledge puffs up. We all have knowledge, but that makes people think they're important. They're not showing love by doing this. That's what we want, love. But if anyone thinks he knows anything, here's the game with knowing. He has not known anything, as he ought to know it. 3 knows, all juggled around to your head spins. That's the rhetorical Greek technique there. If anyone thinks he knows anything, he has not known anything, as he ought to know it. But again, it's an attack on people who think they know everything. But if anyone loves God, that's Paul who loves God, and those people claim to love God. Loving God is the piety commandment. Love God, love your fellow man, the righteousness commandment. He is known by him, so it's loving God that makes you known by him, and that's what gives you knowledge to be known. Okay, I've had my little prelude. Let's go back to the subject. Therefore, as to eating things sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world. This is going to be a really circuitous argument here. And there's no other God except one. So therefore, even though there are those called gods, whatever in heaven and earth, or many gods or many lords, there is only one God, the Father, of whom all things are, and we for him, and one Lord Jesus Christ, by whom all things, and we do him. Back to the question. But this knowledge is not in all. And here's the sum again. But some, third or fourth time, with a conscience of the idol, eat as if a thing is sacrificed to an idol. Even now. And their conscience, therefore, being weak, is the thing that's defiled. Okay. What's he saying? He's saying, he's doing an argument against the people. He says, look, these people have